Let's go over section 8.1. This is the transitional section, which means we're going to cover basic algebra skills and then move on to more advanced algebra skills. Let's look at question 1. We want to solve x plus 8 equals negative 5. When I see the phrase solve, that means we need to isolate the x variable. Let's get started. I will start by subtracting the 8 to both sides of the equation. Why do we subtract 8 to both sides? We're doing the opposite to isolate the x variable. We have a plus 8 here, so negative 8 would be the opposite. And we have to do it to both sides to maintain this equality. On the left, we have x equals, because the 8 and the negative 8 cancels out. And on the right, we have negative 5 minus 8, which is negative 13. So this is our solution. X is equal to negative 13. We can also write our answer inside a set of curly brackets. In question 2, again, we're going to solve for the variable. In this case, the variable is n. And we'll figure out how to get the n by itself. We have a 6, which is the coefficient in front of the n. And to get rid of that, I need to do the opposite. So in this case, we have 6 times n equals negative 21. What's the opposite of multiply? Well, that's division. So I could divide both sides by 6. And on the left, we have 6 divided by 6, which reduces to a 1. We don't write 1n, we just write n on the left. And that's equal to, on the right, we have negative 21 over 6. And we could reduce this. They have a common factor. Let's divide the numerator by 3. We get a 7. And divide the denominator by 3, we get a 2. So our solution is n equals negative 7 over 2. Now this is a good answer. We do not need to convert it to a mixed number. This is a good solution. And we could write it in curly brackets also. Question 3, we'll solve for n again. We have 8n minus 15 equals negative 71. Again, I want to isolate that n. So focus on that negative 15. Get the n by itself and all of the numbers on the other side. So let's think, what's the opposite of subtracting 15? Well, that's adding 15. I'm going to add 15 to both sides of the equation. And of course, negative 15 and 15 will cancel out. We have 8n is equal to negative 71 plus 15. On the right, we have negative 71 plus 15. That's negative 56. Now we have 8n equals negative 56. I want to isolate that n. Let's divide both sides by 8. We'll divide both sides by 8. The 8 and the 8, they reduce to a 1. And on the left, we just write n. n is equal to, and negative 56 divided by 8 is negative 7. And this is our solution, n equals negative 7. We can also write our answer inside a set of curly brackets. And on your homework, they might expect you to submit your solution in this format. Question 4. I have 5x minus 9 equals negative x plus 19. This one's a little bit more complicated than the previous questions, but we'll start by looking to see if we can simplify the left. 5x minus 9, we cannot collect like terms. And a negative x plus 19, we can't add these either. They're not like terms. So we'll start by isolating the x. Get the x's on one side and get the numbers on the other side. To do that, I will move this negative x to the left, and the opposite of negative x is plus x. So let's add x to both sides, and this is going to simplify our equation. 5x plus x is 6x. We bring down the negative 9. We have an equal sign, and this negative x and plus x, that cancels out, which leaves us with a 19 on the right. I need to get that 6x by itself, so let's focus on getting rid of the negative 9. We'll add 9 to both sides. That's the opposite of subtracting 9. We simplify the left, being 6x, and this is equal now to 19 plus 9. 19 plus 9, that's 28. We can divide both sides by 6 to isolate the x variable. Dividing both sides by 6, and then we can simplify. The 6 and the 6 reduces to a 1. This gives me x is equal to, now on the right I have 28 divided by 6. What's the common factor between 28 and 6? Well, they both are divisible by 2. So let's divide the numerator by 2 and the denominator by 2. We'll divide the numerator by 2, that gives me a 14, and we'll divide the denominator by 2, that gives me a 3. Our equation now simplifies to 14 over 3, which is an excellent answer. You don't need to simplify it any further than that. 14 over 3 is a great solution. Notice when I show my work, I make sure these equal signs are lined up. So make sure these equal signs are lined up, and you do each step one at a time. You have to show your work in a neat and organized fashion to get full credit. Take a moment, pause the video, and try question 5 by yourself. Make sure you get the x on one side of the equation, the numbers on the other, and then isolate that x variable. Try question 5 on your own. Let's begin question 5. Again, I want to get these x values on one side of the equation. So to do that, I'm going to subtract 5x to both sides. I want to get the x on one side of the equation. Now, does it matter if you subtract 7x to both sides? No, it does not. You can do that and still solve for x. But I typically want my x coefficient, the number in front of the x, to be a positive number, so I prefer to subtract 5x to both sides. 7x minus 5x, that's a positive 2x. We'll bring down the 23. The equal sign, again, has to line up from top to bottom. The 5x and the negative 5x, that cancels out. We just have a negative 11 on the right. Notice again, the x is going to be isolated, so I have to get rid of the 23 first. To do that, we'll subtract 23 to both sides of the equation, and that makes 23 and negative 23 cancel out. On the left, we just have 2x, and on the right, we'll figure out what negative 11 minus 23 is. That's negative 34. Let's solve for x by getting rid of the 2. Let's get rid of that 2 in front of the x. To do that, I'm going to divide both sides by 2. The 2 and the 2 divide, and they become a 1. Write x on the left. Now you see here, I don't have any room to show my work, so I'll go to the right and put x is equal to negative 34 over 2. And then I will still continue the process of lining up my equal signs. That's what we need to do. We need to show our work in a neat and organized fashion. And this is going to help us be a better student in the long run. We can simplify negative 34 divided by 2. That's equivalent to negative 17. X equals negative 17 is our solution. And again, you can try all of these problems again, practice them. If you want to get more examples, you're welcome to look at the textbook. There are videos and similar exercises that you can do on your own. Take some time, maybe try question 6 by yourself. Alright, let's check your work. Hopefully you tried question 6 by yourself. And we'll do it together now. I want to get the x by itself. So I'll have two options. I could subtract 4x to both sides, or I could add 8x to both sides. Either way, we're going to get the same solution, but I want to keep that coefficient in front of the x as a positive number. So I'm going to choose to add 8x to both sides. We'll add 8x to both sides, and that cancels out negative 8x and plus 8x. This simplifies to 30 equals 4x plus 8x, that's 12x, and we'll bring down that negative 34. The 12x is a positive coefficient in front of the x, so that's great. I'm going to add 34 to both sides to isolate that x. 30 plus 34, that simplifies to 64, and that's equal to 12x. The negative 34 and the plus 34 cancels out. Let's divide both sides by 12 to isolate that x. And so this simplifies as 64 over 12 equals x. Let's reduce 64 over 12. They have a common factor of 4. Let's divide the numerator by 4. We get a 16. We'll divide the denominator by 4. We get a 3. So my answer is 16 over 3 equals x. Now this looks kind of weird. We typically have x on the left side. So at the end, you can just swap these around. 16 over 3 equals x is the same as x equals 16 over 3. And this is our solution, 16 over 3. Question 7. Solve 2 times the quantity 2x minus 4 minus 7 equals 6x minus 11. When you see a pair of parentheses, let's get rid of them first by using distribution. I'm going to multiply 2 times 2x and 2 times negative 4. 2 times 2x, that gives us 4x. 2 times negative 4, that is negative 8. And when you distribute, make sure you bring it down as 4x minus 8. And this negative 7 is outside the parentheses, so just drop that down and we'll copy everything exactly as it is. Now we can start looking for terms to collect. We want to collect like terms. So look on the left and look on the right and see what we can add together. Do not start adding and subtracting to both sides yet. You want to simplify each side first before you do that. Notice I can take that negative 8 and that negative 7 and combine those together. This simplifies to 4x minus 15 equals 6x minus 11. On the right, 6x minus 11, we can't add those. They're not like terms. And we can now focus on isolating the x. To get the x by itself, let's subtract 4x to both sides. This simplifies to negative 15 equals 2x minus 11. I can now add 11 to both sides of our equation. Negative 15 plus 11, that is 4. A negative 4 equals 2x. We can finally divide both sides by 2. Dividing both sides by 2, x is equal to negative 2. At the end there, I swapped the x and the -2, and this gives me a solution x equals -2 as our final answer. So the tip here is, if there is a set of parentheses, make sure you distribute first, then simplify each side of the equation before you isolate that x variable. Question 8. This is a good opportunity for you to test your skills out. So pause the video and try question 8 on your own. Now there's two pairs of parentheses, so I'm going to distribute this -3 to the parentheses. When there's a negative in front of the coefficient, you always use it. So use -3, do not use a +3 when you're doing distribution. We have a +4, so I'm going to use a +4 for the distribution. Let's simplify our equation. We have 5x. -3 times 2x, that's -6x. Again, always use the negative if you're distributing. -3 times -9, that's a +27. I'm going to bring down that equal sign. Distribute the 4 times the 3, that's 4 times 3x, which is 12x. 4 times -8, that's a -32. And we'll drop down that 7x. I want to collect like terms on each side first. So I have a 5x and a -6x. They're on the same side, so just add these together. On the right we have a 12x and a 7x. They're on the same side, so add these together. Simplifying the left side, 5x minus 6x, that's -1x plus 27 is equal to, on the right, 12x plus 7x, that's 19x, and then we'll bring down that 32, that -32. Since I can't simplify the left or the right any further, then we can start adding to both sides. I'm going to add 1x to both sides. The -1x and the +1x cancels out, so this simplifies to 27 equals 20x minus 32. I can now add 32 to both sides of the equation. And 27 plus 32, that's going to give us 59 equals 20x. Let's divide both sides of our equation by 20 to isolate the x. And that leaves us just an x on the right, but I could swap it around and give my answer in the correct form. X is equal to 59 over 20. This does not reduce any further, so 59 over 20 is a good solution. Question 9. Solve 2 times the quantity 3x minus 1 plus 5 times the quantity x plus 4 equals 3 times the quantity x plus 7 minus the quantity x plus 6. Wow, this looks like an amazing problem, a very exciting problem. So let's get started. Again, I want to just get rid of all of these parentheses by using distribution first. We'll distribute the 2, we'll distribute the 5, the 3, and here we have a negative in front of the parentheses. So I will pretend this is a -1 that I need to distribute. 2 times 3x, that's 6x. 2 times -1, that's -2. The middle part here, 5 times x is 5x. 5 times 4, that's a plus 20. We bring down our equal sign. On the right, we have 3 times x, that's 3x. 3 times 7, that's a plus 21. Distribute that -1. Again, always include that negative. That's -1 times x, which is -x. And -1 times 6, that's -6. So take your time, be careful, so you don't make a mistake. Now let's collect like terms, just focus on one side at a time. I can add the 6x with the 5x, and I can add the negative 2 with the 20. So that simplifies. 6x plus 5x, that's 11x. And the negative 2 and the 20 together, that's a positive 18. The variables with the variables and the numbers with the numbers. On the right side, we could do the same thing. We could add the x's with the x's and the numbers with the numbers. 3x minus x, that's 2x. 21 minus 6, that's going to give us 15. Now I could start adding or subtracting to both sides. Let's choose to subtract 2x to both sides. 11x minus 2x, that's going to give us 9x. And these 2x and negative 2x cancels out, leaving me with 15. Let's subtract 18 to both sides now. On the left, simplifies to 9x, and that's equal to 15 minus 18, that's negative 3. I can finally divide both sides by 9 and write my final solution. X is equal to negative 3 divided by 9. Well, that reduces. 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. So negative 3 over 9 reduces to negative 1/3. Our solution is negative 1/3. An incredibly tedious problem, but just take your time, get rid of the parentheses first, and then start collecting like terms on each side of the equation before you add or subtract to the other side of the equality. Question 10, it's a very similar problem. Let's give you a chance to do it, and then we can check our work. Let's try it together. I am going to start by distributing the negative 3. Don't forget, we're going to use the negative 3. Don't use positive 3. Here we have a 4. We'll distribute a positive 4. 5x gets brought down. Negative 3 times 4x, that's negative 12x. Negative 3 times a positive 1, that's negative 3. Bring down our equal sign. Drop down the 3. And then we could distribute 4 times 3x, which is 12x. 4 times 8, that's a positive 32. Let's simplify the left side. We notice that we can add these x's together. And on the right, we can add these numbers together. The x's with the x's and the numbers with the numbers. This simplifies to negative 7x minus 3, and that's equal to 3 plus 32, that's a 35 plus 12x. This simplifies to negative 3 equals 35 plus 19x. We can now subtract 35 to both sides. Let's subtract that 35 to both sides. And negative 3 minus 35, that's going to give us negative 38. We have negative 38 equals 19x. And we could divide both sides by 19. Let's divide both sides by 19. And that simplifies to x equals negative 2. This is our solution, x equals negative 2.